What up, though, Lions fans? It's your man, Curt Steele from the Boss Up Ball Out podcast for Lions Nation Unite. Today, we're gearing up to dive into a critical topic on every Lions fan's mind, the draft strategy of our general manager, Brad Holmes, as we approach the upcoming NFL draft. So make sure you got your Lions gear or LNU gear on. Y'all know what it is. Smash the like button and let's get into it. Since taking the reins of general manager, Brad Holmes has crafted a draft strategy that cleverly balances two philosophies: best player available and addressing positions of need. This hybrid approach has been effective over the past few seasons, and there's every reason to believe that it ain't going to change anytime soon. Consider the selections of Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson, both of whom were not only top-rated prospects, but also fill critical needs on the roster. Sewell strengthened that offensive line, and Hutchinson brought a fierce defensive presence. Their impact has been significant, and I anticipate a similar strategy will unfold in the upcoming draft next month in Green Bay. Now, what truly distinguishes the Lions from other teams is their unique interpretation of the best player available model. It's not simply snagging the highest rated player on the board. This is about identifying prospects that align with the specific playing style of the Lions and can seamlessly integrate, into the culture of Detroit. Because y'all know culture is everything when it comes to the Lions. The strategy was used last season when they took two players at a position of need at cornerback, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. Both these guys, tough, physical players that are gritty, and they fit into the Lions scheme. They both were man coverage corners in college, and they just happened to be the best players available. Now, Arnold was that season-long starter that played the most man coverage of any rookie in the league by far. And he will be the eventual CB1 for the Lions soon. And I expect Rakestraw to bounce back from a rookie season that was shortened by injury. Now, each player that the Lions draft is not only a talent who can contribute on the field, but also a person that embodies that grit and determination that defines our fan base and team. Now, this approach underscores our commitment to fostering a cohesive and competitive team. Look at the interviews of the new coordinators like Kelvin Shepard. He's always talked about being competitive and being a cohesive unit. So we already know what the base is for the Detroit Lions. Now, as they prepare for the draft, Brad Holmes is faced with the important task of balancing the team's immediate needs with the philosophy of selecting the best player available. With positions of need, particularly are on the defensive line and the interior offensive line. So Holmes has a few things that he can explore on in the draft. Now, first thing I will say that the defensive line or defensive end position in particular has been an area where the Lions have sought upgrades, of course, from Aiden Hutchinson. You look at last season, brought in some veterans, injuries, caused some guys to go out, miss some time, and they were struggling all year to make sure that they could keep the continuity on the defensive line. So they kept bringing guys in. And in the NFL, there's an increased importance of pass rush because it's a passing league. Targeting a top-tier edge rusher could be pivotal for the Lions. Several prospects are expected to be available at the Lions draft position, but they may think about doing something else. And they want a player who can complement the existing defensive roster. And that'd be a smart move. Now, Holmes may prioritize finding a player who not only possesses some physical traits and attributes, but also fits the team defensive scheme and can make an immediate impact. Think about that. Physical attributes, because that's going to come up later. Now, on the other side, the interior offensive line is another crucial area that requires attention. Protecting that quarterback and then keeping that run game established and vital is for the Lions' long-term success in the league. Holmes may look at drafting a versatile lineman that can play multiple positions along the interior offensive line, providing depth and stability. Look at when the Lions drafted Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow was a guard who could play center and a center who could play guard. Same with a veteran like Graham Glasgow. Well, we'll talk about him in a minute. But doing that and drafting that interior offensive lineman will aid those playmakers that we have, like we have Sam Laporta, and of course we have Jahmyr Gibbs and those guys, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Keeping Jared Goff upright would definitely help those big time playmakers that the new offensive coordinator, John Morton, wants to establish big plays. So keeping Jared Goff upright and make sure that running game is established will make sure his plan goes a long way. Now, last season, drafting Christian Mahogany proved that you can have a starter in the draft, because Mahogany, once he got on the field, he proved he was a starter. And losing Kevin Zeitler in free agency leaves a hole in the offensive line. Graham Glasgow is on the back end of his prime, man, and lost a step last season at left guard, which is why Holmes may target an interior offensive lineman early in the draft. So you look at that, I'm saying maybe, maybe not, maybe first round, maybe second round. We'll see. Now, while addressing positions of need is essential, Holmes may keep an eye on the best player available, regardless of position. Now, this approach can lead to drafting a high caliber talent that can emerge as a cornerstone for the franchise. In a league where best players often change teams, not passing up on a standout prospect because of positional needs can be a wise long-term strategy. Just look at when the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. They already had a guy like DeAndre Swift, and they already had signed David Montgomery. But what did they do? They took my man Jahmyr Gibbs out of out of Alabama, and it's just been lights out since then. Now, with all that being said, there's one thing that Lions fans know about Brad Holmes. He is going to do what's best for the franchise in the draft. Just like free agency, Holmes is not stuck on big names. So all these names that are James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green and all these other guys that people keep talking about, or even the guys in free agency, Holmes brings in players that fit the scheme and the team. So he's going to pick culture guys and guys that fit the scheme. What do the Lions run? The Lions run a 4-3 defense. They like bigger defensive ends. So it's not surprising that a lot of these edge rushers that the Lions saw, or what people thought the Lions should have signed in free agency or should target in the draft, may not be the guys that they pick. Because there are going to be a lot of Lions fans and media members that are going to be mad because the Lions didn't pick the players that, or the prospects chosen for them in many mock drafts. But there's one thing we know about Brad Holmes and mock drafts. He don't give a damn about that at all. He's going to pick the guys that he wants and he thinks that that the Lions need for this team. Again, like I said, scheme and team. Got to fit the culture, got to fit the scheme. Holmes and his staff never stop scouting for talent throughout the year. The Lions draft board has been set for several weeks for, a few tweaks here and there. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea who the Lions are going to select in the draft. However, I have a theory about the Lions will do in the draft, right? They have 7 picks this year in the draft. I have no doubt in my mind that they will not use all of them, as I see them trading up to get players that are targeting and positions of need and who are the best players available. Bill Barnwell of ESPN has some similar thoughts. He wrote in a recent article, and I quote, "It's fun to imagine the Lions trading up to make an all-in move for a top-ranked edge rusher like Abdul Carter, but that's probably not realistic. Could they jump from 28 into the teens for Mark Green from Marshall or Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M? Possible. This might be time for Detroit to make a bigger swing on a second edge rusher next to Aiden Hutchinson. Now, because they can have a guy on a rookie deal and they can sign Aiden Hutchinson to a bigger deal. Now, I like this thinking because I'm sure the Lions will not go after a smaller pass rusher. I think that if they do go up, they may target a player. I'm not saying that they may target Stewart out of Texas A&M, but a player like him, a prototypical 4-3 defensive end, big, 6'3" and up, over 260, 270 pounds, and with the skills to thrive across from Aiden Hutchinson. Now they got a new defensive line coach, which is one of the best in the league, who can tutor a guy like Stewart or whoever they draft, and to make them a big prospect and have great success across from Aiden Hutchinson. Now, I will say this about Detroit. They drafted well, and they already have solid depth on the roster. It will be tough for players in the later rounds to make this team. We saw that last year. And is this going to be that way for a while? Because Holmes has built a roster filled with young talent, and they continue to add depth. And they replace starters through the draft when needed. Look at last season. Like I said, Christian Mahogany came in. He proved he's a starter, and he's going to be a starter on the team this year, along with Terrion Arnold. But you look at that, you got the whole draft class, and you only got 2 starters. Ultimately, the goal for Holmes is to construct a balanced roster that addresses both pressing needs and future potential. By strategically navigating these decisions in the draft, he can set the Lions on a path towards sustained success. Now, check this out, man. Thank you for checking this out. But also, be sure to check out the link in the description of the video for some fantastic Lions Nation Unite gear. Y'all see the grid shirt I got on, man. You can sport their apparel from some of your favorite Lions content creators and even Lions legend Herman Moore. They have a wide array of options, including a collection honoring military appreciation. I love it. I got a sweatshirt that says salute to service. It's great. I'll make sure I post a picture of it on my social medias. But wearing the gear not only shows your support, but also connects you to Alliance, the LNU community, helping us grow this incredible movement. Thank you for watching today, man. Lions fans, be sure to check out the Boss Up Ball Out podcast for more Detroit Lions insight and discussions with myself, LL, and Coach Mike Jones. We're going to talk about our favorite team, the Detroit Lions. Hey, this is Curt Steele, and I will holla at you real soon.